Did the recent events over at Xbox and Bethesda in any way, shape or form help bring us closer to the next Fallout or Elder Scrolls game? Based on the official statement by Matt Booty, which we will read in just a bit, that seems to be the case. But is that really a good thing? Is this sacrifice going to be worth it in the long run? Or is this yet another example of just how incompetent the people leading Xbox really are? I will say this straight away. I think it's the former, but plenty of other people here in the comments on YouTube seem to disagree. The most common statement being that Xbox should make a Fallout dedicated studio anyway, and that merging the remaining developers of these studios into one that solely works on Fallout makes sense. And honestly, I find that opinion to be very narrow-minded. Thinking of the short-term gratification while completely ignoring the overall impact this will have. Even in the event in which we get a new Fallout title faster than originally anticipated, it won't be because of a new studio. As of yet, there is no new studio to speak of and only 4 closed ones, which had nothing to do with Fallout. I'm gonna call it now. My guess is that Fallout 5 will most definitely not be the next Fallout title we get. And that instead, one of the yet intact developers will be forced into making it instead. Probably in favor of one of their own projects. Which kind of sucks. But please don't get me wrong on this. Would I love it if we got a new Fallout game sooner rather than later? Of course. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'd take Fallout over pretty much any other gaming franchise out there. I've spent well over 1,000 hours in New Vegas alone. Granted, quite a bit of that was me filming my own machinimas and stuff, but you get the point. I'm a hardcore fan. And despite this, I believe that the idea which Matt Booty shared in his recent email stating that they will prioritize high-impact titles and further invest in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games and beloved worlds, which we as fans have nurtured over many decades, aka titles like Fallout, The Elder Scrolls and Doom, is simply awful. We need to look no further than Call of Duty to find out why. Infinity Ward, Treyarch and Sledgehammer Games have been stuck in a maze they can't get out of, developing practically the same game over and over again. After years of spinning around in circles, COD went from being one of the most beloved shooters in gaming to everyone's favorite example of how not to do things. Me included, obviously. Honestly guys, I would hate nothing more than to see Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, Doom or any of the other Bethesda franchises to suffer the same fate. And this is without even mentioning the human cost in all this and the harm done to the overall gaming industry. It would have been one thing if these studios were simply being relocated, and if the developers weren't losing their jobs, but instead were being moved to some other studio like id Software, Machine Games, and Bethesda Game Studios especially. Because let's face it, Bethesda needs a lot of help, especially in the writing department. But to instead just close all of these studios and fire all of the personnel, I gotta wonder at some point, what the hell is Xbox even thinking? All of this creative talent now goes where? I would love to say they're just going outside of Xbox and they can now roam freely and find another studio to work for. But the truth is right now, the gaming market is pretty tight. And a lot of these people will probably be forced to leave the gaming industry altogether. And that is the biggest loss here. It's a loss of people who are now jobless. It is a loss for Xbox and Microsoft who will just keep losing talented people who can make them the money they so desperately crave. And it's a loss for us, the consumers, who will never get to play another game by these wonderful developers. No more Prey, no more Dishonored, no more The Evil Within, no more Hi-Fi Rush, nothing. Nada. But where does this go next? What happens when we say Obsidian gets to make a new Fallout game? And like with New Vegas back when it launched, it gets a score that is not to Bethesda's or Xbox's liking. Many seem to forget Vegas is not the critics' favorite Fallout game. And it also didn't sell as much as Fallout 3, which came prior, and it's not even close to Fallout 4. So what happens if us old Fallout fans get what we want, but it doesn't hit with mainstream audiences and the mainstream media the same? What happens then? Does Obsidian get the same treatment as Tango Gameworks, who did have a successful game but got closed regardless? Or will they somehow be blessed like 343 Industries, who have shown that no matter how incompetent they are, they still get away with everything? Of course, this example is a bit extreme because, realistically speaking, Obsidian might not even be around by the time they get a chance to make another Fallout game. Who's to say what will happen to a Vault or The Outer Worlds 2, and if Xbox will be kind enough to leave them be in the event that those games aren't that successful? Or they are like Hi-Fi Rush but they go ahead and nuke them anyway. Pun intended, by the way. Overall, this situation, no matter how I look at it, makes me lose faith in Xbox, Microsoft, and what's worst of all, is the future of Fallout and the Elder Scrolls series, which I love dearly, like many of you. I don't want to ramble for too long, so in conclusion, I just want to say this. There is nothing wrong in focusing on big blockbuster titles. Microsoft and Xbox are big companies with a lot of resources, so them making more expensive big games makes perfectly good sense. What doesn't make sense, however, is for you to have all these resources and just throw them away, and on top of that, misuse those remaining resources and force them into working on things they're not passionate about. Creatives are just that, creative. They should have the freedom to work on what they want to truly care for. Which is why I'm a bit against the whole Fallout Studio thing. We as consumers can only benefit from developers working on new things that they enjoy. Which in turn should mean that the people on top should also be happy, since we will be paying for their product. Art made with love and passion will always be superior to that made with money and greed in mind. As long as there is enough talent behind it, of course, which in this case, there clearly is. If those passion-filled projects happen to have the name Fallout in them, all the better for us Fallout fans. But just don't force people to work on stuff they don't want to work on. Yes, I'm sure that many developers in these studios would love to work on a Fallout game, but it's one thing to develop a single game and another to be stuck in an endless loop where you do nothing else in your career. Like the guys over at the Call of Duty studios. This sort of work for creatives is just awful. I can speak here from personal experience. Even though I'm not a developer and never worked in gaming, I have worked in cinema. I've produced documentary films, I've produced TV shows, etc. And I can tell you from experience, if you work on something you're not passionate about, it feels worse than a normal job because you love the work. I am a film editor. I love editing. And each time I had to work on something I disliked, I had no passion for, it honestly felt worse than... I honestly just felt like crap. Other work, which would be considered non-creative, hits different. You may dislike it, but you're there for the paycheck. It doesn't hit the same. When you're doing your passion, when this is your passion and you're forced to do things you dislike, it really hits you. But yes guys, what do you think? How does the situation over in Xbox and Bethesda make you feel about the future of Fallout and the other Bethesda titles? Please share your insights and thoughts down below in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And yes, I don't usually make videos like this, but if you enjoyed this, please let me know and I might consider making more. In the meantime, if you're interested in Fallout specific content such as machinimas, lore discussions and edits, we have quite a few of those on the channel. Give them a chance, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. Thank you for watching and giving a chance to this video. I'll catch you in the next one hopefully. See you guys.